Let's take a look at the chart action for Bitcoin. Okay, so here's what we're looking at on Bitcoin. It's honestly been a little boring, Bitcoin. It's been kind of trading in this little area right here. A little above 39,000, like 39.6 thousand. And then the bottom down here is around 37.8 thousand, 37.7 thousand, somewhere around there. And in general, it's just been kind of going sideways. We got a little pop going to the upside right here. At this point, I thought we were heading up to 45,000, but we got rejected and started heading down. So after that, if we jump into the 4-hour time frame, I've been looking at this resistance, and this resistance. So let's go ahead and set that trend line up. And I'm thinking if we could break this trend line going to the upside, then maybe it could be a signal that we're starting to head back up to around 45,000. But until then, I've just been looking at the previous bottoms on the 4-hour time frame, and these levels are sitting at around 36.5 thousand, 35,000, and 33,000. I've also been looking at this previous bottom around 29.6 thousand, but we haven't got a lot of red volume pushing us to the downside. So in this video, I kind of want to check out the Bitcoin dominance chart and the total crypto market cap. So let's check out the Bitcoin dominance chart first. So if we zoom out a little bit, let's go into the daily time frame. We actually were in this little falling wedge pattern over here. We're bouncing in between these two trend lines, and we broke that going to the upside. I think when we broke this going to the upside, this was a bullish signal for Bitcoin. And ever since then, we started trending in this little channel right here, where we had support, resistance, resistance. And in my opinion, it seems like we're trending up on the Bitcoin dominance chart until we break this trend line going to the downside. Right now, it does look like we're starting to form some some lower highs. We're trending down a little bit. What I'm thinking though is until we break this trend line going to the downside, it does look like Bitcoin is trending up, or the Bitcoin dominance. Basically, if this chart is trending up, it's good for Bitcoin. And if this chart is trending down, it's good for the altcoins. I've been kind of hoping that if we zoom out a little bit, I've been kind of hoping that we could break this bigger downtrend right here where we had, let's go into the weekly time frame because I've been watching this on the weekly. So we have resistance right here, resistance, giving me this trend line. I think if we could break this trend line going to the upside, this is sitting at around 44.75%. If we could break this trend line going to the upside, I think that's going to be really good for Bitcoin. In general, if we zoom out even more, Bitcoin has been in a triangle pattern. We broke that triangle going to the downside, or it was in a triangle pattern all this time. We broke it going to the downside, and that's when we got an altcoin season. I think if we break going to the upside, it's going to be a Bitcoin season. Basically, Bitcoin's going to be leaving all the rest of the coins in the dust. But like I said, we haven't broke this trend line going to the upside quite yet. And we are in this little rising channel pattern, so it is possible that we do break this channel going to the downside. Not really sure when or what's going to happen, but these are the lines that I'm looking at. If we break this trend line going down, then I'm going to get more bullish on the altcoins. And if we start breaking to the upside, first we'll want to break this one going up, then this major one. If we zoom out, let's go back to the weekly. This is the main one that I want to break on the weekly time frame right here. Like I said, if we could break that going to the upside, maybe we can start looking at some of these higher levels that we've been in the past. We have a lot of resistance right here sitting at around 70%. I don't know if Bitcoin's going to come back to those levels again, but I'm just kind of wondering, because ever since we broke this triangle going to the downside, I'd been watching the previous bottoms over here, these two orange lines. We actually came down and hit those orange lines, the first orange lines, 3 times, and we got bounces each time we came down and hit them. And what I was thinking as we were moving down is, once we start hitting these orange lines, I'm going to get more serious about Bitcoin and less serious about the altcoins. So we're getting our bounce, but the main thing we needed to do is break out right here, and then we can start looking to go to the higher levels. Like I said, in general, if this chart is moving up, it's good for Bitcoin. And if this chart starts trending down, it's good for the altcoins. Let's jump over to the total crypto market cap and take a look at what's going on over there. We'll jump into the daily time frame, and as you can see, we're kind of in this triangle pattern, kind of a channel pattern. It kind of looks like a triangle pattern. We have lower highs and then higher lows. And in general, we also have this resistance right here, resistance, resistance, resistance. It kind of looks like the Bitcoin chart a little bit. I think if we could break this resistance line going to the upside, this will be a signal that we could start targeting this other resistance trend line. This is sitting at around maybe 1.88 trillion. And then if we could break this trend line going to the upside, then that's going to be good for the total market. Let's go ahead and get rid of this target because that was just a hypothetical. If we could break this trend line going to the upside, that's the target that I'd be kind of looking at. Maybe something at around, we don't know where it's going to break out, around 2.31 though. Let's say it broke out right there. I'd say since we've already kind of moved down a little bit, it's probably going to take us down to around 2.27 if we could break out right now. But it still seems like we're testing to the downside. We're testing this bottom trend line. We still are unsure whether we're going to break to the upside or to the downside. Once we break these trend lines, then we can get a better idea of what we're doing. I think if we break to the downside, we might want to start looking at the previous bottoms, either these wicks right here, like I've been talking about on Bitcoin. Maybe we could just wick down and then come back up, or we could come back down to the previous bottom down here. And if we set up an orange horizontal line, let's go ahead and do that at the previous support. We had one, maybe something like this, and we'll go ahead and do this orange. I'm thinking maybe 1.19 trillion if we start getting some big red volume and start heading down again. We could also target from the top to the bottom of this triangle the way we did, going to the upside and dragging this to the breakout. Let's say we broke out something like this. It kind of lines up with this previous support. It's a little bit higher, but it kind of lines up with it. Basically, I'm still waiting for a breakout to the upside or to the downside on the total crypto market. In general, I think this total crypto market chart has been following Ethereum a little bit closer than it has been Bitcoin. So in my next video, I'll be taking a look at Ethereum. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up so I could see you in the next one.